Hi, hey, hello. Welcome to my channel. My name is hautemess Tom. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today is the after sass, which is coming very late, and it was supposed to be the first video after my video Critical Sass. Some wrenches were thrown in the system, shall we say. Just timing just was not good. Then I wasn't feeling well, and here we are. So if you are new to my channel, hi, welcome. This is the After Sass. The After Sass is a direct response to my new makeup release video. My channel is about loving my makeup collection as it currently is. I still do take the time to explore some new things, but what I really am focused on for me is loving my makeup collection, and that's what I'm going to do here. This is the kind of video that is here to inspire you to use your makeup collection before potentially making a makeup purchase. I'm not here to vilify buying makeup. I know that I struggle from overconsumption, so this is me doing it on a platform where I show you how I do some things, try not to do that. So I would love to have you subscribe if this is your kind of deal. And so what I'm going to do is a full face of makeup that I already own. I think you already kind of caught the drift there. So what I'm going to do is take the new releases that I talked about in Critical Sass and talk about makeup products that I already own and why the stuff that I already own is probably better for me than the stuff that is new. And we're in an era of makeup right now where actually a lot of it's kind of exciting to me. This work becomes more relevant even to me because it's like, yeah, there is some makeup that I am pretty excited about. But I also think it's important to keep in mind, I am a content creator. I am someone who does get the privilege of PR. So my relationship with makeup is different than yours as a consumer, but I still am also a consumer of makeup, but like it definitely looks different than what your relationship with makeup is going to look like. So I just think to take everything with a grain of salt, you know? Just take it all with a grain of salt. But like I'm doing my best for me, but like also my relationship with this all has changed. Let's jump into it. I'm gonna start with my foundation today and then work my way to my eyeshadow. At my own free time, I typically start with my eyeshadow and then go the other way. But you know, on camera, I feel like the flow works a little bit better. But I talked about two different foundations in my Critical Sass video. The new Sisley Phyto Teint Perfection foundation. And I also talked about the Christiane Louboutin liquid Fetiche foundation. Now, I did purchase that one out of curiosity and I'm gonna review it for the channel, but I'm not going to be using that foundation in this video. Having an openness, an open dialogue here. So when I think of my makeup collection, I have my favorite foundation. Like I have it already. And it's been my favorite foundation for years. Nothing's ever beat it. What do I think a new foundation could provide to me that my favorite already hasn't? And my favorite foundation is the Surratt Dewdrop foundation. It doesn't look like this. If you were to go out and buy this foundation right now, it wouldn't look like this. It comes in a dropper. I hate the dropper. Historically, I have complained ad nauseum about the packaging of the Surratt Dewdrop foundation, so I decanted. This is more than one bottle in here. It's like a bottle and a half, kind of fits in this container. It's blurring. It's light coverage. It has a nice like dew finish, but it's not too dewy. It wears really beautifully throughout the day. It's just my perfect foundation. I found it 2 years ago. 3 years ago. I like don't even remember what I found. I think I found it 3 years ago. I started buying it 3 years ago. I'm going to prep my skin a little first. I'm going to put the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base on, and I'm also going to prep my lips with this Dr. Dennis Gross lip plumper thing. So I got my hair cut and then I got food poisoning and I haven't washed my hair to get all the dead hair out. And so like every time I style it, there's just all this hair falls into my face. So it's so cool. It's so cool. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let me apply this foundation for you. Here I am with the foundation applied. It's a really good skin tone match for me. It's the Dewdrop foundation in 1.5. If you happen to have a similar skin tone to me and think that might be the right shade for you, it's 1.5. And I just love the way this looks. I like the way it wears over time. It just is kind of like my everything foundation. Every time I buy a new foundation, it's like never to bump this foundation out of its spot because this has earned its spot. You know, there probably will be one day where this is dethroned. I just don't think it's anytime soon. It's just like my gold standard for foundation at this point. I don't think anything's going to come for its gig. I just really don't. And I appreciate it for its work. If I wasn't doing this, if I wasn't such a makeup lover, and if I just was like someone who was like what's my favorite foundation. If I only could buy one foundation, it's always going to be this one. There were no concealers on the list, so I'm just going to apply some of the Surratt Dewdrop Concealer in shades 1 and 2 really quick underneath my eye, and then we will move on to the next thing. So I am going to do a brush video. It's not the brush video. No one lose their mind yet. It's not the brush video, but I'm going to do a brush video. I have noticed a lot of what I typically use for products right now has kind of switched around, and I think that's important to talk about even leading into my like makeup brush video, which is something I want to do this year. But it's kind of going to be like brushes, what I was using and what I've been using, and like why I kind of have fallen into the new habit. So keep your eyes peeled for that. That's something I want to film soon. But the next thing I want to talk to you about is contour. KVD Beauty is releasing these contour bronzer duo balms. I complained about in Critical Sass for a couple of things. I don't like duos. And the reason I don't like duos is because I'm never going to finish them at the same time. And I think that's like kind of relevant to me. Even if I liked that product and it was my favorite version of that product, if I would run out of one side of the contour or the bronzer, but I was always using it together, then I would need to re-buy it before I was completely done with it and then start using the shade in my new one of the one that I already used up faster in conjunction with the one I used up slower from the old one. And that just doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense to me. What I'm using instead for contour today is from Ritual Defeat. It's the shade Intuition, and this is in their Inner Glow Cream Pigment. Now this product is a contour for me, but it's not specifically a contour product. If you want more recommendations for cream contours, I have a video that I did 10 cream contours and I talked about the benefits and the downfalls of all of them and my opinions on them. So if you want to check that out, you can check that out. But this ultimately is my favorite one from that video. Spoiler alert. I love this for a number of reasons because I have fair, neutral, cool leaning skin, and this has like a lot of gray in it. It's not too gray for my skin tone, but this kind of color in a contour is pretty hard for me to find on the standard market of contour. When I look at those KVD ones, they all look warm, and the bronzers look even warmer, and just none of them look like they would work for me. I already have this, and you can tell I started this last year, and like I feel like I could hit pan at any moment, which is pretty cool. Also, excuse my dog's hair all up in there. The nature of a cream product in a household with animals is that that animal's fur is gonna be in some of your products. I am just gonna apply this really quick. And what I also love about this is I have no idea about the pigmentation of the KVD ones, but the pigmentation of this is really beautiful and it's really blendable, and I already have it. That's even the better part. I don't have to spend whatever those KVD ones cost to get this because I already have it. Now, of course, I did spend money to get this, but I did that a while ago. You can tell as there's a big divot in there. There weren't any new exciting powder launches, so I'm going to powder my face as I usually would, and then I will come back with the next product. I did want to come in here real quick and say that I did repress my little Charlotte Tilbury because I feel like I wasn't picking up any powder, so I'm pretty excited about this. I just feel like we're gonna use this up any day now. I say that, it's like kind of wishful thinking. We'll see. We'll see how long it actually takes me. I don't know that I've ever repressed a powder, like in the effort to try to finish it. I'm kind of new to like actually trying to finish product. In Critical Sass, we talked about how YSL and R.E.M are releasing their bronzers, and I talked about how we're heading into spring. We're gonna see a lot of bronzer and colorful blush releases because this is just the time of year where it's like popular for that. It's like brands want to remind us that we need color because we're heading into the summer, and like, do you want to look like you have no color? And so they're trying to get us into the colorful spirit. When I looked at the YSL ones, I was like, those look really orange for me. Those undertones don't look like they're gonna work for me at all. I also didn't really care for the packaging of them. They have this like brown squishy leather outside. I don't know how I feel about squishy packaging kind of in general. It feels like one of those things that I think will be cool at the beginning, and then as powders and products kind of like find their way in it, because there's nothing more beautiful to me than like product that looks used. So like that product, you know, there's gonna be like, you know, bronzer all up in that the stitching, and it's just like, I just don't think I want to see that. And then when I think of the R.E.M ones, I thought the undertones looked a lot better, but R.E.M as a brand overall is not a brand that I can say that I'm super interested in trying it for any reason. And it's not because it's like related to Ariana Grande at all, but it's just kind of like R.E.M sits at a price point that I don't find very interesting at all. It's not quite drugstore, although drugstore it does kind of creep up into the price point of R.E.M sometimes, but it's also not high end. And So I guess in my brain, I don't know where that formula type lives or what that packaging should feel like. And so it just kind of is like doesn't register on my brain as something to pretend to be interested in. So I just am not normally. So R.E.M just doesn't kind of like buzz on my radar. But when I think in my makeup collection about luxurious bronzers with luxurious packaging, something that I already own that has already successfully sold itself to me, even though I didn't buy this product and it was gifted to me by a friend, I thought of the Gucci bronzer. So whenever I think of that YSL packaging, like it's trying to obviously sell a luxury fantasy. Gucci is also a luxury makeup brand. When I look at the packaging of both things, I would much rather interact with this beautiful blue and gold packaging. I have complained a little bit about this packaging before. Like, I don't think there's any need for this under here, and I think it'd be much more beautiful as a metal compact as opposed to being a plastic compact. And another beautiful thing about it is that if it kind of gets musty and crusty, you just kind of wipe it off because it's not leather and there's no stitching that anything could get into. So for that reason, I would think that this is just going to be something that would be much better for me. Not only that, when you open it up, this bronzer shade, if you happen to be fair skinned and you've not heard someone praise the undertone of this, if you have like a fair pink undertone, this is just a bronzer that's going to look very natural on you. It does what our skin does in the sun, and it just is a very, very beautiful, natural looking bronzer on us. And that's something that you can't say for a lot of luxury brands. A lot of luxury brands fall into the pitfall that YSL did, like really orange, unnatural looking bronzers on people like me. Obviously, it's okay. Like that kind of undertone is going to work on someone. It's just not me. And it's like, I've already found the perfect version of this somewhere else. So why not use it? So I'm going to put this on. Beautiful, very natural looking bronzer on me. It came correct. I just talked about, when I was talking about the bronzers, I also talked about the R.E.M blushes. And R.E.M, whenever those launched, there was a lot of buzz about it because it was just like, people were excited to see color. That was what I had deduced, is like, I don't know that people are really excited about R.E.M's blushes, but I think people were just excited about it because R.E.M was the first brand to like really talk about their spring launches, and their spring launches included colorful blushes, which is like what we're going to see from any blush launch this spring. I have a lot of beautiful blushes. I have beautiful powder blushes, and I'm not interested in a blush from R.E.M. So I kind of swung really hard the other way, and I'm going to be using the Chanel Blush Harmony Mauve blush, which is not really super colorful. This is definitely like more of a fall winter kind of blush shade. I'm not super into poppy blushes, but the color story for the rest of my face is gonna be more winter-y. So I figured I would just kind of help myself out by picking a blush that's gonna go with that, as opposed to fighting the rest of my look with something super bright. So that's what I'll be wearing today. And there's also something beautiful, I think, about celebrating limited edition products that you own. So I have a couple different thoughts I'd like to share about limited edition makeup that some people might not be able to purchase anymore. As someone who talks about makeup on YouTube, you often get pushback when you talk about makeup that people can't buy anymore because people are mad that they can't buy it anymore. But also, they will also then turn around and complain that like, you're always buying new makeup if that's part of what you do. So it's kind of like, what is the truth? Like, what do you want me to talk about? Do you want me to talk about new makeup, or do you want to see me use stuff that I already own? If I happen to own something that's discontinued, why can't that be something that I use on camera? That doesn't happen on my channel often because I think a lot of people who end up here know what's going on. But, you know, food for thought, if you've seen that on other channels, it's a little bit frustrating. But also, it's like, I think that people who buy limited edition makeup kind of covet it in a way where they're like, it's so beautiful, I don't want to use it. Why did you buy? Like, of course, I definitely understand like wanting beautiful things, but like that color was made and formulated to be used ultimately, not to just kind of like hoard, because, you know, makeup does inevitably go bad. Now, powder products obviously last a lot longer than cream products. And if you never intend on using it, sure, and you're just like kind of that kind of person who's like a collector of makeup. But if you hope to sometimes use it, the quality of it's going to deteriorate. And so when that blush you first apply, it applies beautifully. 3 years, 4 years, 6 years down the line, if you're still trying to use that blush, it's not going to work as well. And you've only used it like 3 times. And it's this beautiful limited edition thing. It's meant to be celebrated in limited edition. You're supposed to like you're supposed to use it. And if you use it up, what a beautiful thing that you celebrated it so much that it's no longer usable. I think that's a great thing. And so this is like I think maybe my favorite powder blush I've ever had. Not so much formula wise, but I just love the color of it. And so I'm excited to put it on my face. And so I'm excited to use this as opposed to buy a new blush. It's interesting because I feel like I was really in a heavy blush phase like a couple of years ago. And I still love blush. And if a good blush comes out, I want to try it for sure. I'm just not as into like the colorful blushes. Like they don't really sing to me like the joyous way that they once did, which is great for now. But you know, obviously my interest in makeup has just kind of shifted elsewhere in the meantime. I was a little bit reserved. I wasn't sure how much I wanted, but definitely more than that. Beautiful, stunning, gorgeous. I talked about a couple different highlighters in Critical Sass. The first thing I talked about was the Balm Essentiel from Chanel, which is their limited edition Mermaid Glow. And I talked about how I already have Dragé. I don't know that I'm going to use it today because I think that there's a more interesting highlighter to talk about and draw comparisons to. This isn't for everyone, and I feel like where my look is going to end up, it's a little more flashy. So I think a little stronger of a highlighter would make more sense. So let's talk about the Fenty DemiGlow Baked Highlighter. These are one of the more interesting things that I think that Fenty has released in a while. I talked about how I felt like it was like a well thought out release in my Critical Sass. It feels like something that makes sense for right now. Highlighter isn't as popular as it was. And I also think one of the cool things about Fenty when it launches, like it launched this full line. I think a con that they are kind of finding out in real time right now is like, if you launch a full line all at once, those formulas stay in the year that they launched. What you find a lot of other brands doing is like, you know, a foundation might be around for a few years and it will get discontinued and they'll introduce something new that it has like better makeup technology in it, meaning different ingredients. They can make different sizes of the molecules, whatever, like things that just make things perform better. And I think what Fenty has found itself in is that like its highlighter formula is probably not as popular, but also the trend of highlighter has changed since Fenty was introduced to us. So it's like, yeah, you kind of need to go with the flow and figure out things. And I think that's interestingly one of the things that like Fenty has kind of kept up with. So they like had their initial launch where they came out with some really bold highlighters, but also some like more nuanced, not so bold highlighters. And then they released like the diamond bombs, which are like, you know, for like going out and like super really sparkly for the body and like also on the cheek and eyes. And then they released their like body lava, which like had that like the beautiful body sparkle. So like they kind of have kept up with the trends of highlighters. So I just feel like this is like an organic next step, but it's a next step that I don't have to take with Fenty. Like I don't need to buy theirs because baked highlighters have existed from other brands. In fact, a very popular baked highlighter that was released last year was the Rare Beauty highlighters, and this is the shade Enlighten. Now, one thing I will say is that the way that the Fenty ones are described versus how this one performs are like very different. I find that this highlighter is just incredibly overpowering and takes some finesse. A lot of finesse. I don't want to say some finesse. It takes a lot of finesse to make this look real natural and beautiful on the skin. And when you take that time and take, you know, use techniques to make it look that way. It's just not my favorite because it's kind of fussy, but it is like a more modern highlighter in my opinion. It's one that you can take all the way if you want to. And it's kind of like, I just don't need it from Fenty. What was the last hyped version of the thing that you're coveting that you purchased? And why is that not serving you anymore? Now, this was gifted to me by a friend. My friend Ananda gifted this to me. So I did not purchase this, but like, it's definitely my newest powder highlighter that I own. And I'm just going to use it today. And so I talked a little bit about like applying this in technique. So for today, I'm going to apply it with the Sonia G Soft Cheek. And I like this because I'm just going to like very lightly tap it in there. And I'm going to kick off the excess and just lightly drag this on the cheek. I imagine that the Fenty highlighter is going to look something like this. Very soft, very beautiful. Let's move on to something a little more fun. So let's move on to, well, I guess it's not actually so much fun in the context of this video. So I talked about the new SKKN by Kim, the new makeup from Kim Kardashian's skincare line. I don't know, trying to make sense of it. I can't make sense of what Kim Kardashian is doing anymore. It's also like none of my business. I don't care. But she released some lipsticks and lip liners, which I didn't really talk about, but I did talk about her eyeshadow palette, which is a new browns eyeshadow palette. It included like neutrals, cools, and warm browns. And I was just like, this is not the brand that I would buy this from. And I already have something and things like that. And I talked about the other eyeshadow palettes that I have, so I'm going to use one of those. Now, I specifically picked up this one to talk about today and kind of compare to it. Now, this is not exactly the same, and it's not the Makeup by Mario palette that looks exactly the same. This is the Ethereal Eyes palette from Makeup by Mario, but I thought it would be fun to use like Kim's makeup artist brand's eyeshadow palette in a comparison video. Now you can see this is a well-loved palette in my collection. A lot of these have pretty big dips in them, and that's great. That's the kind of value I want to see coming out of my eyeshadow palettes. I'm just going to build a very simple matte look with this today. We're going to put some shimmer on, but I'm not going to use this. I have this, and there's still very full pans of eyeshadow in here, and I don't need to replace this yet at all. I also have a Viseart. I have the Grand Pro 1X, so I could do the Kim palette 10 times over, even with that palette in and of itself, and I have my Hindash palettes, but I just wanted to show this one a little bit of love today and kind of being like, just the Makeup by Mario one. it's just better. Now, I don't own the matte one, like I said, but I've heard the formula is different in the, I think it's a 12 pan. Yeah, that's like the smaller 12 pan all matte Makeup by Mario palette. These eyeshadows always, for me, these mattes in particular from this eyeshadow palette, have always just served me so well. I find them really easy to blend and easy to work with. And I also find that they hold up really well on my eyes. So I did use the NARS Smudge Proof eyeshadow base to get things kicked off. And I am now setting that with the lightest cream shade in the Mario palette, which is absolutely the eyeshadow shade that I'm going to finish first from this palette. And I'm going to do something a little more cool tone today. So I'm going to use this as like a transition. I'm just going to deepen up the outer corner with this top brown shade. So that's where I'm going to leave the eyes, and it was just really easy to do that quick blend of eyeshadow and just kind of get like something started. But I'm not done with eyeshadow yet. I'm going to apply eyeliner real quick first, and then we're going to put a shimmer on. Now, I want to talk about this real quick. This isn't part of this, but this is a newer product to me, and I kind of would want to report back to you. This is the Victoria Beckham Satin Kajal Liner in the shade Cinnamon, which I bought along with the black shade a couple weeks ago. And I've been actually really liking this shade. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, but I liked the way it looked on the Victoria Beckham website when they were doing promos for it. And I'm going to tell you why I like it specifically for me. I didn't think I was really going to be into the more shimmery. It's not really shimmery. It's just more of like a satin. Maybe I think they might actually call it metallic. It's not a metallic. I wouldn't call it a metallic by any means, but it has like a shine to it. It's not completely matte. I wasn't sure if I was going to like that, but I have really liked it. However, this has a nice amount of like redness to it. Whenever I put it in my waterline with my green eyes, it makes them pop. I just feel like my eyes look so much greener when I use it. So I love it for that. I don't always need that, but like, it's kind of one of those like things, you know, color theory things where it's like red and green are opposite sides of the color wheel and they're complementary colors, but it's like colors, like if you wear them on the eye together, it's one going to look like Christmas, but like red and green blended together are going to make like a murky, muddy gray. They're not colors that you can really blend together, but next to each other, they really complement each other. And obviously this isn't red, but it has just enough red undertones in it to make my green eyes pop. I just love it. I love the way it looks. Let's move on to the shimmery shade. There were a couple different like shimmery eyeshadow releases that happened that I talked about. There was the Get Stone 10 pan shimmery eyeshadow palette. That's not really what I'm going to be in the vein of today, but I did talk about that. And I also talked about the Carolina Herrera charm bracelet eyeshadows, which were like bananas. And then I also talked about the Make Beauty eyeshadows. I talked about, when I specifically was talking about the Make Beauty ones, kind of made a joke of the Carolina Herrera ones, and I think they are a joke. Like, I don't think that we should respect those. Sorry, Carolina. I think you should go back to the drawing board. I know you're trying to be cute with your little bracelet. I'm never going to do that. But when I was talking about the Make Beauty eyeshadows, I talked about how I was like, I have no idea. Just looking at the pictures and even watching other people use them so far, how that's going to compare to my other single compact eyeshadows. Because this is the kind of thing I love. I love a single compact eyeshadow. In my dream world, I only have like matte eyeshadow palettes, and I have a bunch of sparkly single shadows and compacts, and I like mix and play with them like that's like my dream fantasy world. I don't know why that my brain works like that. Having like loose magnetic palettes and loose magnetic shimmers, which are also beautiful, my brain doesn't remember them like it remembers my single compacts. But I'm sure if I had as many single compact eyeshadows as I do, you know, beautiful multi-chrome sparkly eyeshadows that are not in pans, like not in their own compact, it would be the same problem. But anyway, I thought two things specifically that I know I already love that I'm pretty sure that the make ones are not gonna like hold in comparison. The first thing I actually talked about in the video, I talked about the Victoria Beckham, and I think this probably would maybe be a better comparison to the Carolina Herrera ones, but like nothing's ever going to beat that texture and color of eyeshadow. This is Mink from Victoria Beckham. It is just like kind of the bee's knees when it comes to that kind of eyeshadow color. Just like, I'm not going to buy Carolina Herrera. I'm going to always turn to my Victoria Beckham ones. And then I wanted to pull out this one, and this is actually the one I'm going to use today. When I think of, you know, stars in my collection of like single compact sparkly eyeshadows. And I try not to go too far into, you know, single shadows like that aren't in compacts, because like I could do that. And there are definitely like more interesting shades in there. But when I thought of something very similar that I already own, it's Smoky Quartz from Charlotte Tilbury. And it's a very well-loved shade. You can see in there. Yeah, there's hard pan, but I always apply it with my finger, so that's not really a big deal. I haven't run into an issue where I've swiped my finger and not got any pigment or payoff. I'm just gonna use that on my eyes today. Our old friend. Look at how pretty that is. Smoky Quartz never really lets me down. It's a shame that Charlotte Tilbury just doesn't bring these back. Well, I don't know if I want her to bring all of them back, but Smoky Quartz. And you know what, weirdly enough, that this has that I bet the Make Beauty ones don't have? So to its like pro and con, this breaks down pretty quickly on the eye, and it kind of gets crazy and kind of like falls apart, but like in a really beautiful rock star kind of way. And I love that. I think that Make Beauty probably made something a little more better performing than this, but I kind of like this. It's so great performing. Of course, for $34, you should want more for your dollar, but $34 for me, this is $34 well spent. Well, I don't know that I paid the full price. Smoky Quartz, longtime favorite channel. I'm going to put on mascara, and then we're going to talk about lips. I want to talk about this a little bit. This is the Surratt Releve mascara. This is for my regular viewers, not really the people who might just have popped into this video. I'm going to talk about this just real quick. The Surratt Releve mascara, it's one of those mascaras that like once it's open a little more time, it starts really doing its thing, and it just started really doing its thing. My heart, be still. Let's talk about lipstick. In Critical Sass, I talked about how MAC had reformulated their matte lipsticks and how that could go one of two ways. People could be excited about it, people could be devastated about it. I'm kind of indifferent to it. I like the matte lipsticks that MAC already had, but I could understand why they would want to like renovate, rejuvenate, reformulate. I could understand that for sure. I have a very good shade of the matte lipstick already. I have the shade Whirl, and I am going to put a lip liner on kind of as a call to the Kim Kardashian brand lip liners. I'm going to line with Victoria Beckham's 5. And the moral of the story for this one is I have a matte lipstick from MAC. I don't really care to know what the new formula is like until I would want to re-up on this. And this is the shade Whirl. And as you can see, I have a long way to go before that would happen. And I think MAC makes really beautiful lipstick shades. I think they're one of the brands that has so many options that you can choose from in their lipstick range. Like lots of nuanced undertones. Like you can really find whatever you're looking for at MAC. And I don't need to explore that right now because I'm very happy. I like the old formula. There's no fear of missing out for me because it never, like, you know, at some point I might want to re-up on that and I could just go do it. And there would be a new formula waiting for me. I could find out at that time. There's no rush. And there's no rush for you because you might have a lipstick color from MAC you already like. And then if you like are in some kind of rush, you'll be tempting fate. And like, what if the shades aren't close enough? Or what if they, you know, like there's all that to kind of deal with. And it's like, you don't even have to put yourself through that if you already have the lipstick. I'm just saying. Anyway, that wraps up the video today. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new to my channel and you're not subscribed, I would love to have you subscribe. I do a lot of this. I do some new reviews. I do a little bit, but like I always come back to this. I try to only dedicate like one video a week to new makeup that I have that has come in through PR or that I purchased. And then the rest I try to do focused on things that I already own. I keep my makeup, just for context for you new viewers, like I keep my makeup separated. So I have place where I keep all of my makeup that I'm testing, which is like not in my collection, and I have like my regular stuff, like the stuff that's organized in my drawers. I know where everything is, and that's what I try to spend more time on in my channel. Now, sometimes there will probably fluctuate between that, but that's what I try to do. I would help myself and help you build the habit of making better choices about purchasing makeup. Like, is that new makeup item actually something that you don't already have? Is there something in your collection that can scratch the itch that might? Subscribe if you'd like. Make sure you like this video, share it with anyone you think might like it. And I'm on patreon.com, and I also have memberships. They're the same. Whichever one you choose, you're going to get the same thing as the other. Over there, I do one additional video every month. I have 2 ready to go patrons. As kind of things happen, as you know, but they will both be up by the end of February. That's like a promise. This is a stinking promise, okay? And then I also have my podcast with Khaki of Khaki Reviews Beauty. That's over there. We do that weekly. So inevitably you're getting like 5 additional videos from me, but 1 additional just me. And then sometimes I'll do sneak peeks. And if normally when I have my stuff together, I will do early release videos over there whenever they're edited. That doesn't always happen. So I don't like promise that, but you get that a lot of the time. Anyway, that's that. Join them, but also you don't have to. Liking, commenting, sharing is the best way to support my channel. Patreon's not a better way to support my channel. It's just a different way to support my channel. So I appreciate anyone who's just here watching, commenting, and liking. But thank you to all of my current patrons, because you made this happen. So we'll talk about this in a later video. We'll probably do a first impressions with some other new makeup. Keep your eyes peeled for that. I'm done talking. I'm ready to go. Remember to follow your hope and you'll find me. I'll see you in a video very soon. Go forth. Tits out. Bye-bye.